Shout out to EA for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel.
Warning. Warning. The following message is directly from Respawn and is directed towards all Seer mains.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Yes people, how are we all doing? It's Ashton here and I hope you're all having a fantastic day. We're back once again in Season 10 this time for a ranked guide for the new season. Now, the season has been out for a little bit longer than it usually is before I post this guide, but unfortunately my teammates were away on holiday at the start of the season, so I had to start this guide a little bit later than usual. Nonetheless, we are in the middle of Masters right now. On our way to Apex Predator in no time at all, and I'm going to be showing you guys the easiest ways to gain RP in this season's iteration of Ranked. Now if you do go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel for more regular Apex Legends content from myself. With that being said, let's jump right into the context of what we're going to be looking at in today's video. This season I've managed to narrow it down to 5 key areas that we're going to be focusing on in order to help you guys gain the RP and rise up in the ranks over the course of the season. Those 5 key areas of focus that we're going to be looking at include legend meta, weapon meta, your landings, getting kill points and rotations in game, and also playstyles to help you guys adapt to the game depending on however you play it. We're going to be kicking things off by looking at the legend meta for season 10. Legend meta is in fact probably one of the biggest factors that makes me come back to remake a ranked guide every single season, because with every new season, nerfs and buffs and changes to the legend meta happen, meaning that the game is entirely different to the season before. Now some legends, they are untouched and they're still going to be meta this season as they were last season. The usual suspects of the likes of Bloodhound, Wraith, Gibraltar, Octane, those sorts of legends haven't really been touched too much over the course of season 10, so those are very much cemented in the meta. They're very viable for you to play this season. However, certain other legends have seen changes. The likes of Caustic has come back tremendously over the course of this season. His buff has made him much more viable to play in ranked, especially in the higher tiers where his gas now scales its damage, making him a much stronger legend and a scarier legend to come up against, and no longer can you just run through his gas willy-nilly. You've got to be pretty careful about staying in that caustic gas, because if you're in it too long, it's gonna hurt. Now needless to say, Seer has been a crazy introduction to Apex in season 10, and while we know a nerf is coming to Seer, probably by the time this video is out, the nerf is already live and you'll already know the changes that have come to Seer. I don't think they're going to affect him too much in terms of play rate, especially in ranked. He is a very strong legend and it's not going to be anything crazy like a rework, just some power is going to be shifted away from his tactical and ultimate abilities. If I were to predict what the changes are likely to be, we're likely to see the flash effect and maybe the damage taken away from his tactical. And I would imagine there would be a bit of an increase to the time it takes for his ultimate to charge, because it charges pretty quick right now. But if we look at what the abilities actually do for Seer and the abilities that he has, the scan ability with the health bar and also his ultimate showing that huge area of effect with the permanent scan, I think he's still going to be a popular pick and I think he's still going to be very much cemented in the meta. So I don't think that nerf is going to have too much of an effect on him, and I feel pretty confident in saying that. With that being said, we played with a bunch of different team comps over the course of the first week or so of us playing ranked in order to find what we felt was the best suited to our playstyle. We're going to get more into playstyles later on, but for our personal playstyle, we chose the following 3 legends as our main team comp. We ran Seer, I mean of course, everyone's running Seer right now. We ran Octane for mobility and aggression, and also we saw Horizon return into our team comp. Horizon of course seeing a buff in the season 10 update, making her lift a little bit faster, a little bit more viable, because before it was just a little bit too slow. But mainly Horizon's strength is probably in her ultimate ability. It can be used offensively, defensively, in any different scenario. It can be used to save you or help you win a fight, and honestly she is a very good utility to have on the team, and I highly recommend you giving Horizon a try if you haven't already. With this team comp, you're able to have the knowledge of a recon character in Seer, obviously the strongest recon character in the game right now, so why wouldn't you pick him? Obviously you have the offensive capabilities of Octane, He's obviously super fast and great in those close combat moments, but his pad is also super useful for getting in and out of sticky situations or on top of a team if you need to attack them quickly. And Horizon gives you the opportunity to take height pretty much whenever you want without leaving a way of the enemy teams to chase you up, like where on a jump pad or on a zipline or something like that, enemy teams, they can follow you straight up there, but with Horizon's tactical, it's not going to be an option for them unless they have a character of their own to get up on your height. Needless to say, these aren't the only legends that are viable this season. You've got the likes of Pathfinder, Crypto, Revenant, unfortunately, the less said about that, the better. And even Fuse this season has been seen in the higher tiers of ranked. And we'll get onto that, like I say, a little bit later when we talk about playstyles, but these legends are very much viable for the right type of player. Now, in terms of weapons you want to be using this season, there is a bunch of variety in terms of the strongest weapons in the game right now. There's not just one or two, there's actually a bunch of weapons which can be used really effectively at their effective ranges, and honestly, you don't really have to stick to the same one or two guns. You can pretty much swap and change depending on how you feel in a certain game. For me though, it's always going to be the R301 and the EVA 8. Just like last season, I find this to be my personal favourite loadout. I find it to be the strongest and the most versatile, offers me close range and mid range, and even some long range with the 3x scope. So personally, that's the loadout I like to stick to if I have it available to me. But of course, we have the likes of the Prowler back on the ground loot, and despite its small nerf, it is still very, very strong, especially at close range with the hipfire. And of course, you've also got the likes of the recently buffed L-Star, the charge rifle and longbow for your long range fights. The Volt SMG is of course as reliable as ever, and the likes of the R9, you know, the Rampage LMG coming into the game. There's so much variety and choice that you can pick, pretty much whatever gun suits you best. So long as you're running a loadout that holds up at those close and medium ranges, then it doesn't really matter so much what guns you're running, so long as they suit you best. Moving on from loadouts and legends though, we're going to be talking about how you should be landing into ranked. Now, some people find that having their own POI that they like to land at every single game is the way they like to play, and in previous seasons I've most definitely done that myself. In the past, I remember saying I used to land at Geyser every single game, I used to land at Epicenter every single game. This season though, it's been a little bit different for us. No Fori, I'm not willing to lose 60 RP every game to land Fragment. For real though, honestly, we find the best way to land this season is to look for one or two teams that are contesting each other, land close by and third party them off the drop. That way you're going to be confirming yourself some early RP in the bag, going to minimize those losses so you're not going to take a big neg if you die early on in the game, and overall you're probably just going to get better loot, and it's always better to take an early fight because it's much harder to take those fights in the mid game. As a rule of thumb, you can pretty much single out teams that are not going to be as experienced in ranked by looking at their dive trails, although some higher up teams may be trying to juke you out by not running trails even though they are Preds or Masters. So it's not always going to work for you, but as a rule of thumb, it usually does mean they're not all that experienced in ranked or haven't achieved the high ranks if they've not got trails, and especially if you're in those plats and golds, you really shouldn't be trying to contest anyone with trails anyway. I want to be clear, I'm not condoning trail chasing where you just land on people with bad trails. That's not at all what I'm saying. You should just pick your fights carefully and make sure that you're in the best position possible to come away in the early game with some RP. Now, once you've got some RP in the early game, you pretty much want to be playing safe for the rest of the game. Not too safe though that you're not taking fights if you need to. If an opportunity arises for an easy third party, or sometimes you're forced into 3v3s that are just outside of your control, then you definitely should take them. You don't want to be running from fights. You want to show presence and show that you are there and you are there to fight. One thing I found, especially since moving to PC, is that if people see a sign of fear in the slightest, they will pounce on you. So you've absolutely got to stand your ground and prove yourself to be the better team. You also want to be making sure that you're scanning those recon beacons so you know exactly where the zone is going to end, so you can get yourself in those better positions to hold out for the end game. That being said, there are going to be opportunities that arise that allow you to leave strong positions in order to kill one or two teams. This being usually a third party that is clearly going to result in a team dying. Pretty much this just comes down to knowing and having a good game sense of what is going to happen. If you can see a fight is happening and there are knocks, more often than not it's good to jump on that, but you've also got to be watching out for potential third parties that might be thinking to do the same thing. So always just try and be aware of exactly what is going on before you make a decision. As is always the case in ranked, you always want to be the last team going into a fight. So if you get into the position where there are 3 squads left, you want to do everything in your power to make sure that the other 2 squads fight first. Now usually being in the best and most strongest position is going to lead to that happening, although some teams may recognize that you actually have the strongest position and may be willing to fight you for it, but these teams, they're not very smart in the old brain compartment because obviously they're just going to get third-partied. When there are 3 squads left, you're always going to get third-partied when you take a fight, so as I say, make sure that you're the last team going into a fight by whatever means necessary. Last but not least, we're going to be talking about playstyles. Now, playstyles are very important to every player in Ranked as I go over every single season. For those of you who have a more aggressive or third-party playstyle, the comp that I talked about with Octane, Horizon and Seer is going to be very, very good for you, but there are also other legends that do suit other playstyles that is more effective this season. The likes of Bloodhound plus Seer for those ultimate wallhack scans is very, very strong, and Corsic has also proven to be a great Seer counter because even though Seer can have his ultimate down, if you're bunkered up in a load of Corsic gas, then there's not a lot a Seer team is going to be able to do in order to counter that. Gibby is also being a lot less effective this season because Seer can just tack through his bubble. That doesn't mean Gibby is entirely ineffective because obviously you have to be a good Seer to know when to tack through a Gibby bubble. That being said though, he's not as effective as he used to be because a Seer can just cancel a Gibby res or a bat being popped inside a Gibby bubble, so be careful picking Gibby in your defensive teams. Regardless of what playstyle you pick though, it's always important to get that early KP in the bag to be safe for the rest of the game, or not entirely safe, but you're just not going to take as big of a negative as you would do if you hadn't got early KP, and like I say, it's a surefire way to get looted out as well, so always look for that early KP, it's super important in Ranked. But that's just about going to wrap it up for today's video. I wanted to make this season's Ranked guide a little shorter, more or less because I think in a few of the Ranked guides I can waffle on about stuff I've already talked about a bunch, and I don't want to do that too much. Obviously a lot of you guys know the basics of Ranked and how it goes, but every season there are some changes that happen, and changes to playstyles can be important every season to, you know, adapt to the meta, so that's really what I want to focus on with these guides. Not so much stuff we've already gone over too much, but if you did enjoy today's video and it helped you out a bunch, then let me know in the comment section below, and like the video and subscribe to the channel for more regular Apex Legends content from myself. But until next time guys, it's been your boy Ashton, I'll see you in the next one, take it easy, and goodbye.